Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today on the Three Man Blitz. I'd just like to take a moment to remind you to follow us on Twitter at 3manblitz. Visit us at www.3manblitz.com. You can listen to us on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcast, Breaker, and don't forget to view us on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and hit the like button. Thanks, guys.
All right, everybody, welcome into another episode of the Three Man Blitz. I'm your man Andrew with Jeremy over here, and if you'll notice the absence of our normal co-host and good friend, Mr. Kwesi, will have in his place Benjamin Hester, Trashed Ben, everybody. So hey, Trash Ben.
Hey, Trash Ben.
I see what you did there.
And if you guys will go back to our our third episode in the very beginning, back when we were still 3-point conversion, Benjamin Hester joined us to help break down the lines, and Kwesi was taking a long time to get ready, and Ben was sitting there sipping, and the rest is history, guys. Let's just say it's a very interesting episode if you have time to check it out.
Trash bin.
Trash bin. All right, guys, so let's go ahead. What?
I was just going to say, before you get started, don't shed any tears for Kwesi. He's on vacation on the beach somewhere, very exotic, I'm sure. 3 women around him. So, all right.
On the beach. Pour shots, gents. Well, Ben's not pouring a shot because he's trashed. He's drinking straight from the bottle.
He's an alcoholic. He's not really. Only on weekends.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn this around and say go for 3.
Oh,
this one's for you, Kwesi.
Yeah, before we take these shots, we're actually doing our sleeper and bust running backs this episode. I guess you clicked on the video, so you know that already. But I'm telling you.
They said, yeah, get to the drinking, get to the running backs.
All right, guys, for Kwesi.
For Kwesi. Woo, and Ben.
Ooh, so good. All right. I guess we'll do this kind of like we did last week. Jeremy, if you want to go ahead and jump on in with your bust running back.
All right. So, yeah, we'll go ahead and get started with the bust here. So there was quite a few candidates I was looking over, and one really jumped out at me, and it is Leonard Fournette for Jacksonville. So there's a lot of things that you would like about Leonard Fournette, and I wouldn't disagree with you if you just love the guy. But he's a good candidate to be a bust. He is a workhorse running back. He has a big injury history. Last year, he finished right inside the top 10 at 10. People are going to be reaching for him a little bit. His ADP is around that, somewhere around 9, 8 to 10. But I think he's going to fall down more around the 15 to 20 range as far as production. Basically, just because Jacksonville is going to struggle a little bit. I think they're going to throw a little bit more, and I really just don't think that he can finish this season healthy. So that's my take on Leonard Fournette. I'm just not feeling it. Just not feeling him. What do y'all think about Leonard Fournette?
I like Fournette because, as you stated when you first got started, he is the workhorse running back. And he's not known as a pass-catching back by any means. He is no Clyde Edwards-Helaire or, Todd Gurley or any of those guys. But they force-feed him that ball. Like, it's almost it's almost like you could count on it. In a lot of games, we saw that last season. And, if they get behind, of course, they've got to start throwing the ball. And, their receivers aren't necessarily the best in the league. So, I don't know. You're looking for a good dump off. I mean, he's your guy. So I disagree with you on this one. I think that he's in a contract season. I know it doesn't mean as much as it used to, but I think Leonard Fournette's due for his big year, and I think this might be it. I definitely see where you're coming from.
Yeah, let me respond in kind and just say that it's hard to force feed a guy when you're down by double-digit points in a football game when running the ball. So, and the fact that he can't catch out of the backfield, or at least that they don't give it to him like that, should tell you all you need to know. Now, like I said, he's got. I mean, if he can stay healthy, he will get his touches. I just don't trust it. Don't trust it.
Don't trust the production.
Don't trust it. What do you think, Ben? What do you think about Leonard Fournette? Yay, nay?
As a committee back, yes. I wouldn't hitch my wagon to him.
There you go.
I know he's going to get his carries, but I don't see him getting high production. 7, 8 yards.
He said I wouldn't hitch my wagon to him. That was like
some thing to say.
Yeah, that's some old people sitting on a porch like spitting and whittling. Like I wouldn't hitch my wagon to him.
When Ben was saying that, he wasn't actually doing it, but he was chewing on a piece of straw. He was whittling. He had his whiskey set next to him.
Now listen, boys.
Anyway, he actually last year also only had 3 touchdowns. Count them. You can count that on Sesame Street. 1, 2,
okay,
3.
Well, 3 touchdowns. Well, what's that phrase that all us guys in the fantasy industry like to use? Positive regression. Dude, that has to go up. It is obviously going to go up. You can't count on it being 3 touchdowns. That's not going to happen again. Just like when you look at a guy like when you look at a running back that had like 25 touchdowns, you're like, oh, that's got to come down. There's no way he can keep that up. Like Christian McCaffrey, you know. I mean, like.
I think it kind of speaks to just where they were as an offense last year. They weren't giving him the ball inside the goal line because they probably didn't make the goal line very often. They probably weren't in the red zone very often.
Well, I will say, definitely, I see your point. Things are not looking good in Jacksonville right now.
No, it could be better, that's for sure.
All right. Moving on to my bust. This one may surprise some of you. Those of you who actually know me and follow me on social media, you'll know that I'm not a huge fan of this guy as far as fantasy goes. I like him as a person, you know, and I know he went through some struggles a few years back, and he came out on the other side a better football player. Everybody was kind of cheering him on, this and that. So take it how you will, but my bust candidate is actually James Conner, Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah. This guy has a hard time staying healthy. He's being drafted right now as the 10th running back. And you're telling me that there are only 10 running backs that are better than James Conner? There are only 10 guys you would rather have? That's like in a 12-man league, in a 12-team league, that's a RB1. RB1. You know, I'm not taking James Conner as an RB1. I like the Steelers' offensive line okay, but I don't like them to have good production this season. One of my bust quarterbacks was one of the guys that I really didn't like was Ben Roethlisberger. I didn't actually end up going with him, but just I'm not super high on this offense. And Juju Smith-Schuster, I'm not looking for him to do a whole lot this season. I don't like – you know how sometimes you just kind of get a gut feeling about an offense or about a team, and you're just like looking at all the pieces and you're like, on paper it all looks good, but when you break it down individually and look at each player, you're just kind of wincing a little bit. That's how I'm feeling about the Steelers. And I mean, I think they can pull out some wins they probably shouldn't. But as far as fantasy production, I don't think it's there. And let me just say that he's not even the best running back on his team. Benny Snell is behind him. Oh, yeah, don't give me that. I like Benny Snell. I'm a Benny Snell truther. I'm a Benny Snell believer. Give me Benny Snell. But you guys have anything on?
Yeah, I got some stuff. So talking about a Benny Snell truther, dude, you need to go look at some truth and some stats. Like Benny Snell, when he got the ball, his average yards per carry was like 3.2. It was no bueno. Now, James Conner, I feel you, and I feel you were obviously down on Pittsburgh this year as a whole, right? Which I don't blame you because last year they stunk it up. They were really bad. But with Roethlisberger coming back, they hope that it's much better. So in 2018, James Conner had just shy of 1,000 yards, and he had 12 touchdowns. And he had 215 carries. Last season, he had 4 touchdowns, 464 yards on 116 carries. And you can attribute all of that a little bit to him being knocked up a little banged up, and then also the fact that they had such bad quarterback play. I mean, they were struggling every game, and they couldn't give him the ball. And he's not that guy. He's not a Christian McCaffrey type dude. He's more of the guy that is Pittsburgh traditional. You got to force feed him the football, and he's got to get his touches. So I feel you. I agree with you in a way that there's a lot of red flags surrounding the Steelers offense. And that I don't think I would pick him very high. And I think that's where you're coming from. He's a bust because he's getting taken so high on his ADP, right?
Yeah.
But I think he can do well, though. As long as
let me throw you this.
Benny
Snell had 108 rushes for 426 yards and 2 touchdowns, and that is 3.9 yards per carry. So that's like right at 4. That's not.
He's in the threes. What was James Conner's?
I'm about to see. Ben, anything on James Conner?
James Conner had a 4.0 average, so one tenth better.
I don't know. Since he came into the league, I think he was more about the story than it was his talent on the field.
Exactly.
So, but he came in, did what he needed to, got his spot, so you can't fault him for that.
In 2019, James Conner started 10 games. He had 116 rushes and 464 yards.
Mm-hmm.
4 touchdowns. Let that sink in. Y'all stay away from James Conner.
But that was garbage year. You got to throw that whole year out. Look at 2018.
You can't throw that whole year out.
It was garbage.
He had all the 10 games.
The defense, all they had to do was put like 9, 10 in the box. Who was going to throw over him? Devlin Hodge? Come on, man. Ben's over here dropping truth bombs on us over here.
All right, Ben, who's your bust running back?
My bust pick, probably going to surprise a lot of people, but I kind of stuck with history. It's Derrick Henry for the Tennessee Titans. Last year's current rushing leader. 140 yards, 16 touchdowns on 303 carries. I can't see him being able to sustain that workload.
Yeah, I definitely feel where you're coming from with that. Like, running back shelf life's already really short, like we've seen for history, right? So if you're force feeding this guy this many carries, he's gonna have a downside. He's gonna have some regression. But like you said, he had 1,500 yards last year. I mean, they gave him he carried the ball 303 times. That was their bread and butter. The year before, to give you some contrast, kind of to play devil's advocate, he had 215 carries and he still had over 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns. And we've talked about this in other videos. I'm like a Derrick Henry truther. I think that he is the exception to the rule. So I'll disagree a little bit, but I definitely feel where you're coming from with him having a red flag as far as his usage.
How old is Derrick Henry?
He is 26.
26. And I know he wrote
going to have a bad year. I just think it won't be what people expect.
Sure, yeah, I got you.
Because I think people are going to take him really high. They're looking at what he did in the playoffs. And, okay, a point that Kwesi would make if he were here, I have to make this point. He got paid. When a running back gets paid, they ain't worth a crap. It's just a trend. You can't explain it.
It's that once already.
Yeah, it's a trend. And then you're looking at, okay, well, Tennessee also managed to pay, unfortunately, Ryan Tannehill. He was my bust quarterback. I'm not a Tannehill believer. And I think that the fact that they paid him so much money, I think they're going to try to force feed the ball through him a lot. And Henry may get a few less touches. His touches may be affected some. But I think they're going to be expecting more out of Tannehill. And I think we could be in for a volatile situation in Tennessee. And so, I'm like 50-50 on Derrick Henry. I think he's either going to have a great year like last season or, like you said, he's going to be a bust at where people take him. So, whenever there's the risk factor involved, I usually tend to back off of the player a little bit. So that may be one of those situations where I kind of side with Ben just because of that.
Yeah, I feel you.
All right, Jeremy, you want to go ahead and hit us with your sleeper running back?
Yes, so my sleeper running back, and let's remember that a sleeper is somebody that you take extremely late or extremely low, if you want to say it that way, that has the potential to finish much higher. So with that in mind, my sleeper for 2020 is none other than Antonio Gibson. And a lot of you that are listening are probably saying either, oh, okay, or who the is Antonio Gibson? If you follow the draft and everything, you know that he went to Washington. They're no longer, I can't say it because it's offensive. They're the Washington football team now.
The team formerly known as the Redskins.
Yeah. But Antonio Gibson he's a rookie, so he hasn't played a down yet. He was out of Memphis. He's drawn comparisons which are very lofty to Christian McCaffrey because he's an explosive type player who has great hands. He's 6 foot, 228 pounds. He has a 4.39 speed, and he's backing up Darrius Guice. So all you Darrius Guice truthers, hit me up with messages and try to persuade me as to why Darrius Guice is the man. He's done nothing in the league, and he's been injured forever.
Can we just point out right now that none of us took Darrius Guice as a bust? Why was this?
I don't know. I really don't. I think we
missed an opportunity.
Overlooked him. I think we overlooked him because I don't think we realized he's slated as the starter, or maybe we did.
We were looking for that hot
such
take,
an obvious
maybe?
Pick. Yeah, such an obvious pick.
Okay,
maybe he would get a good sleeper. Maybe he's finally passed all his injuries and he's going to do well.
If Kwesi were here, it would have been Darrius Guice.
Probably.
So, Kwesi, we're crapping on your guy right now.
Plus, I didn't want to use him as my bust since my sleeper's his backup. That would just been cheap. But go look at the tape, and he's being drafted as low as round 21. So you can get him on the cheap, and he has a high ceiling. Yeah, that's really, really low. He could well end up being the starter for Washington, and he could be a pretty good person. I mean, you'd say, oh, well, Washington's a terrible team. Well, so was Carolina, and Christian McCaffrey ended up number 1 overall. So what y'all's take?
What was that? What was that stat you gave me about McCaffrey? He could have taken 3 or 4 games off and still finished number 1.
That's true. He outperformed the next running back by over 100 fantasy points in a PPR league. It's insane. He's definitely due for some regression, just so as you know.
I will say, I like that you went real deep for a sleeper. I don't think I went quite that deep. I went more for the guy that might just be simply overlooked or forgotten about. But I appreciate your insight and your diving in here, and we need to do more of this, more of these guys that you really need to be looking for in late rounds that hopefully you can, snag away from people. But, yeah, I don't like Darrius Guice, so I may be looking into this guy in late rounds, and that's a good piece of advice. I'm definitely going to have to check out the tape, and I suggest you guys do it too.
I feel bad actually saying him because he was one of my secrets, and I'm divulging it to you. So now when it's time for us to draft, everybody's going to know.
We're podcasters. We're fantasy football podcasters. That's what we do. We lay out our secret playbook for all to see, and still go out and face the competition anyway. It is what it is.
I like it.
What you got on him, Dan? What you got to say?
Didn't know who they were, so I learned. Thank you, Jeremy.
Trash.
You're welcome.
Hey,
See, there's a leg up.
I'm gonna fill your segment real quick, Ben. Can you show us all what's on your shirt? What does that say?
It says, "You look like something I drew with my left hand." My wife made the shirt for me.
Nice.
It's nice. You tell her we said we liked it.
Yeah. That's a good chuckle.
Oh. Now we're going to move on from Ben's offensive shirt and go ahead and move on to my sleeper. Okay, guys. So most of you probably forgot that this guy existed, but I'm going to be taking Tarik Cohen for the Chicago Bears. See? You're going to go. You're going to go.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me set myself up here. Jeremy, when you think of Tarik Cohen, what's your first thought as far as his skill set?
He's a pass catcher.
Okay,
He's got good hands.
What about you? Same thing?
That's what I was going to say.
Okay. Well, let me go ahead and throw this out there for you guys. As a rule of thumb, when your offense loses volume, if you have a pass-catching running back, you look for the pass-catching running back's volume to increase. And if you look it up and kind of check it out, it's a trend. Well, the Chicago Bears lost Taylor Gabriel. He had 48 targets through 9 games. And the guy in front of him, David Montgomery, let's just be honest, he was hardly worth a crap. I would have chosen him as a bust candidate, but nobody's even picking him high. I mean, he's just not very good. I mean, maybe it was just he had a bad rookie season. Maybe he'll bounce back this season, blah, 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 whatever. I'm skipping over that. I'm just assuming that it's going to be like it was last season. Tarik Cohen, he was on the field for 49.9% of snaps. Now, Chicago Bears offense, do you remember watching them last season? They were bad. They were playing from behind a lot. Yeah. The only guy on the team worth a crap as far as receiving goes was who?
Allen Robinson.
Allen Robinson, right. You got one main guy, and you got a quarterback who can barely get the ball 10 yards past the line of scrimmage and scrambles to extend plays because he holds on to the ball too long. Where's he going with this ball whenever he's scrambling out? He's looking to the running back. He's looking for his check down. He's looking for his dump off. And there's Tarik Cohen. And he was being drafted, last I checked. I just had it pulled up. And it was way late. I just lost it.
I'll look it up. You keep going, man. I got it.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, that's my guy, Tarik Cohen. I like him. He's gonna be getting a lot more targets, and I think he's actually gonna be startable in a flex position in every game. I don't think there's gonna be a game where you shouldn't start him.
He's being taken as low as the one of the last picks in the 9th round. Yeah. So around pick 95, 98.
So for a guy that you can start in every game in a flex spot, I believe that's definitely worth it. And I mean, like, you're looking at the vacated targets there and the slightly worse defense for Chicago, and you're looking to see Chicago definitely playing from behind a lot. You're not going to see a lot of David Montgomery, I don't think, not as much as maybe we did last season, and I think Cohen's going to be out on the field a lot just because they're going to be playing from behind so much. I mean, that's really all I've got on that. What do you guys think?
Do you think the addition of Nick Foles is going to help or hurt him?
From my understanding, Trubisky's still going to be the starter as of right now. Yeah.
I was going to say it for what? First half? What?
I mean, either way, they're both vomit city, like Jeremy just said. But I don't think even a change of quarterback would really hurt his production.
I think what they really wanted to do with Trubisky, or what they did with Foles, is they brought him in to back up Trubisky, and they really hope that he can turn it around because, he can use his legs where Foles is just going to stand in the pocket. So Trubisky gives you a little bit more upside as far as an offense. You can open it up a little bit more. But as far as Tarik Cohen, I know that he's a smaller dude, and I wish they would throw to him more often. He would be way more valuable and definitely wouldn't be a sleeper. He would be a legitimate pick.
I mean,
he'd be a guy that everybody's looking for.
Watch some of his highlights. He is a fantastic running back. He is, I would almost say, McCaffrey-esque in the way that he moves and the way that he can receive out of the backfield. Yeah, but they don't use him. So
it's the offensive style.
It helps if they play the Lions twice a year, too.
Bashing your own team, Ben.
He's trash.
I feel you, though. I feel you. I will say last year he had more receptions than he did rushing attempts. Yeah. And his yard per reception was almost 6 yards per reception. So.
Yeah, and even when he had a rushing attempt, I mean, like, even when guys were trying to get at him out at the backfield, you'd see him be watching a Bears game and see him make something out of nothing. He looks like he's going down 4 yards back and he makes it a gain of 1 or 2. That's a win, And, I mean, maybe not necessarily for you fantasy-wise, but when you're watching him move, it's kind of like Joe Mixon. Whenever Joe Mixon gets anything in a game, it's always more than he should have gotten.
Yeah. And that's like Chicago fans probably wish that they'd utilize him in their minds and mind correctly, right? They want to see him get the ball because if you get it to him in the right way, like you said, it's somewhat of a Christian McCaffrey type deal. Dump it off to him when you've got, the coverage to do it where he's having to beat out, an outside linebacker, and he has the speed. He can get outside of most of those outside linebackers and make a huge gain. But where's it at? They're too busy trying to use him like a traditional running back, and he's under 200 pounds. It's not smart.
So are you guys buying or selling him as a sleeper? Would you take him as a sleeper?
I would take him. I would take him at the right spot. I'm not a Tarik Cohen fan, so depends on who's left. But I would buy it. I'll buy it.
All right. And Ben, I think we got a yes out of you two over there.
I would. I'd take a flyer on him.
All right.
Take the flyer,
Moving
baby.
on, for the sake of time and just so Ben doesn't get too wasted, let's go ahead and see who he's got in his back pocket for a sleeper.
My sleeper pick is Ronald Jones II out of Tampa Bay.
Okay.
I looked at Tampa.
But I looked at Keyshawn Vaughn. Y'all see this
Yeah.
Vanderbilt logo here?
But Jones is the slated to be the starting running back this year. From his rookie year, he went from 1.9 yards a carry to 4.2 yards a carry last season. Is the number 2 back at 172 rushing attempts for 724 yards and 6 touchdowns. And he's also going to be playing with the Brady effect this year.
The Brady effect.
The Brady effect.
Is that a scientific term? I like it.
Well, let's just pretend.
Scientist.
Well,
Focused on the pass game. Brady's never had the weapons that he's had as receivers right now, so that should free up space inside the box for the running back.
okay. Well, Ben, I hate to be this guy, but Jeremy, you're choosing. Okay, let's say it's the 9th round of the draft. You're choosing a Tampa Bay running back. Who are you going to take?
I would probably, if it's really late, I would probably personally take Keyshawn Vaughn. And I'm taking Keyshawn Vaughn over Ronald Jones only because, and Ronald Jones might come out this year, you're right, and that's why he's a sleeper. Where you could get him, I'm sure. He really struggled with pass blocking, which is, I'm sure, is why they were looking to target a running back, because I think they're already kind of moving on from him. That's what it feels like. Now you're right, he's slated to be the starter. And he's not a bad back. He's only 23. Like, when he came out, he was really young. So, they may be 50-50, and maybe Keyshawn Vaughn doesn't get, maybe Ronald Jones just destroys him. But I would go more for Keyshawn Vaughn. I also saw Keyshawn Vaughn a lot, last year when he was in college.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just not impressed by Ronald Jones. But I definitely feel where you're coming from, because this offense is going to be more high-powered. There's going to be There's going to be opportunities to run the football. There's not going to be a ton of stacked boxes because nobody's going to be looking to stop the run. And he could be the beneficiary of that big time. So I feel where you're coming from. I like Keyshawn Vaughn, though.
I agree with your Tampa Bay running back scenario, but I'm with Jeremy, Keyshawn Vaughn. And let me throw this at you. I did a little digging back whenever we did our breakdown of the NFC South, and I actually got to handle the Buccaneers that game. Now, this was, of course, before their pickup of Tom Brady and everything, but this is when they still had Jameis Winston, and it was looking like he was going to be the starter. But the one element that I found that was missing from Bruce Arians' offensive scheme to make that offense what he had designed it and built it to be was a pass-catching running back. And I believe they found that with Keyshawn Vaughn, and I don't think he's going to be kept off the field, honestly. I think he was, like I said, the missing element to that offense, and I think that's, of course they brought in pieces. They brought in Gronk. They brought in Tom Brady, but I think Keyshawn Vaughn's really going to be out there and be used as the primary pass-catching back and probably primary running back. I think he'll get a pretty decent workload as the season moves on. I think in the beginning it won't be so, like Jeremy said, maybe a 50-50 split, but I think he'll take over. So, in theory, I like where you're coming from with the idea, but I just don't agree with the name.
So, basically what he's saying, Trash Ben, is that he doesn't agree. He feels like you should have went with the other running back.
I agree, but I don't agree.
Running back.
But I like it because this is a sleeper spot, right? And I think Keyshawn Vaughn's actually ADP is higher than Ronald Jones. So you're getting the starting running back later in rounds than you would his backup, which is not the way that should happen.
I literally just asked you which one you would take first.
I know,
and you answered the same.
I would take Keyshawn Vaughn, but I'm defending Ben here because I feel like as a sleeper, Ronald Jones is a better pick because you can get him later, and he is right now the scheduled starter. Just to play devil's advocate, I would take Keyshawn
Tom
Vaughn.
King in 2017. Tom King was a scheduled starter for the Houston Texans. And a couple games in, Deshaun Watson took over, and that was the rest is history. I'm just saying.
It's true. All you need is a little opportunity.
Right?
All right, guys. If you think you've got better sleepers or even bigger busts than we do, then go ahead and let us know in the comments. Hit us up, www.3manblitz.com, at 3manblitz on Twitter. We like Facebook at 3manblitz. Y'all hit us up and let us know what you think. And everybody be nice to Trash Ben. Wait for everybody to Trash Ben. Wait at him.
Don't flip them off, Ben. We're not there yet.
All right, thanks, guys.
Be nice. Go for 3.
Go for 3.
Ooh, go for 3, Ben. He can put up 2.
There
it is.
Don't forget to follow us on Twitter. Kwesi at RastaLion1131, Jeremy at CheckerboardJ, and me at Jedi Quarterback.